Welcome back to Strange Form. First, I must apologize for my lengthy absence. I have been working on my first novel and am nearing completion of my second draft, but more on that in a later episode. Today, we will be looking at Sideshow Collectible and Threezero's 1/6 scale Court of the Dead collaboration, DEMITHYLE, the Reaper General. Just picking it up off the porch, I could tell that the contents are larger and a lot heavier than its predecessor, Malevestros. Inside was a sideshow thank you for your purchase card and a photo art book called Figure Fantasy, the pop culture photography of Daniel Picard, with foreword by Simon Pegg and afterwards by Kevin Smith. The box itself has a beautiful production photo on one side and an art piece on the other. There are small details helping this to be a display box, such as glossy highlights around the eyes and mouth of the art piece. After my disappointment with Malevestros, I was happy to see Threezero push the release of this one back significantly, and it looks like the extra time has paid off. Just out of the box, both the heft and detail jump out at you. There is just intricate detail everywhere. The packaging is your standard vacuum form plastic mold with separate trays for accessories. There are multiple tones in the armor paint with very slight reddish hue. From the cross guard and the hilt all the way down to the pommel, the sword sports so much fine detail, you almost need a magnifying glass to take it all in. The Chris-style blade of the Sveintander's sword has multiple paint shades to exaggerate the waver design. My only complaint here is that mine had a slight bend to the blade, which I ended up evening out by putting it between the pages of a heavy book. The sickle has a blood-spattered design and lots of small nicks and dings, and the staff portion is like a gnarled, twisted wood. DEMITHYLE also comes with a total of 8 sets of interchangeable hands, though unfortunately there are no other hands for his tiny arm, which is molded into a sort of half grip. They do give you 2 extra posts, which you may need, as one of mine was broken upon the first movement of the hand. The detail on these are great, but I do find it odd that they give you 2 identical right and left versions of the staff holding hand. The only reason I can think for this, that this is the hand with the most movement, so if one of the pegs gets stuck inside, you have a backup before you have to start dremeling it out. Or maybe it's just in case the fingers break off when you put a sword in it. I don't know, but you have an extra set. All told, he comes with a sword, a scythe, and a hooded cape with a chain attachment. He has a ball joint at both sides of his neck and a joint at the shoulders, dual joints at the elbows, joints at the wrists of 3 of the 4 arms. The baby arm swivels up and down at the shoulder, but not side to side. It has a ball joint at the elbow, but no wrist articulation. Almost every part of the outfit has bendy wire, allowing you to express movement and flair posing him. Though hidden behind his outfit, the legs have fully detailed armor, and articulation at the pelvis, knee, and ankle. The armor is designed to move around with the articulation, allowing for fairly dynamic posing, considering the heavy costume. Paint applications around the head are excellent, with a very slight blooming darkness coming from the eyes, and in the eye sockets are deep inset glass eyeballs that catch the light and give the character more presence than had the sockets just been empty. The jaw is a separate piece, but unfortunately does not move. However, it would be fairly simple to pull it off and rig a tiny pivot. Now onto the costume. It is difficult to believe the amount of fine detail and embroidery that went into this figure, from the armor on the back of the neck to the collar, to the breastplate, and yes, even butt armor. There is just no place on this figure where it feels like they skimped on detail. So much so that you're hiding a lot of it by just putting his cloak on. This is where the figure has a hands-down advantage on the statue. You can periodically repose him to show off different aspects of the piece. If Threezero pushes forward on this property, this is the level of detail and quality I would definitely like to see in more Court of the Dead figures, hopefully causing the property to finally get a good foothold in the market. And going forward, this one has definitely sold me on collecting the 1/6 lineup. Sideshow has been a bit all over the place with the Court of the Dead IP. They have a huge book, though interesting in premise, is a bit purple on the prose. That being said, I do think that it would make a good audio drama. Several one-off comic book series that don't really tie in together in any super objective, and a really well-done encyclopedia of the world that is often overlooked or downright ignored when planning many of the comic books and short stories. Right now, Sideshow is trying to sell glorified Monster High dolls for $700, and there are a myriad of random collectibles such as small vinyl statues, semi-Funko Pop-inspired characters, and of course, the apples. Oh, the apples, but nothing other than the large statues that allow you to collect all of the characters in one medium. And the statues are of course very large and prohibitively expensive, with many long out of production. The world of Court of the Dead has the feeling of Neil Gaiman meets Conan the Barbarian. I think that there is something special there, if only Sideshow could tie it all together into one cohesive thought. In the end, DEMITHYLE is a whopping 16 inches tall and feels more like a 1/4 figure in hand than a regular 1/6 figure. I sincerely hope that collectors embrace him and the line goes forward. I would even like to see accessory pack for these figures, as well as possible stands and environmental furniture. Again, there's a lot here. Sideshow just needs to get organized. Now I will be reading from Court of the Dead, Chronicle of the Underworld. DEMITHYLE, the Reaper General, Faction of Bone. DEMITHYLE's creation was unremarkable. He was merely one soldier amongst many, produced through the collaboration of faction leaders and augmented by Death's own hand. Like his fellow Mortis Knights, DEMITHYLE was secretly infused with a shard of the ethereal essence of Morgistus, the legendary fallen protector of the underworld. However, despite their common genesis, DEMITHYLE alone rose quickly through his ranks. His skills and ingenuity carried him to heights never before achieved by a Knight of Mortis, winning him the title of Reaper General, first of his rank, commander of Death's army, and overseer of the collection of human souls. The administration of dark deeds weighs heavily on DEMITHYLE's broad shoulders, but his sense of duty and greater mission to which death leads him has allowed him to find peace. While he fights under the banner of Bone and swears allegiances to the Chancellor, DEMITHYLE's loyalties lie with Death and the underworld as a whole, regardless of faction.
My time here has been long, even by the standards of entities that briefly count time in centuries. I understand time better than most. I have journeyed so often to the mortal realm, where existence is measured in mere years and time runs like water through one's hands. Despite my compassion for humanity, I am truly of the underworld, and I am loyal to my homeland. Not because I was made to be so, but because I believe in the righteousness of what the Alltaker seeks to accomplish. All that I do for the underworld and the vision that Death has for our people. I may not always fully understand his purpose, but I trust his perspective to be wiser than my own. My faction is Bone, and for Bone I fight. But Death sees beyond the divisions of bone, flesh, and spirit. That is why my sword, Cryptmorn, is forever pledged to his least command, and why I will never waver from hard choices and sacrifice in pursuit of what he deems the greater good. In him, my trust is deservedly forever placed.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Strange Form. Please hit like, comment, and subscribe, as it will help the channel grow. And remember, never stop collecting.